everyone. Thank you for coming today, and thanks you, Zach Callahan, Executive Director of the Truck Safety Coalition, for organizing today's event, releasing an important report to the states on the states with the highest number of deadly truck crashes. Thank you to Joan Claybrook, Chair of the Board of Citizens for Reliable and Safe Highways and former Administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and especially to truck crash safety victims Pam Biddle, Daniel Legenkamp, Gage Evans, and Elise Acosta for attending today. The roadway safety crisis does not receive the level of attention it deserves. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, motor vehicle crashes killed an estimated 42,915 people in the United States in 2021, a 10.5% increase from the previous year. Fatalities involving at least one truck increased by 13%, exceeding the national trend. One of the fundamental roles of government is to protect the people. With that in mind, my subcommittee on highways and transit and I have endeavored to make safety one of our top priorities when crafting the landmark Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. The bill issues a mandate for heavy-duty Class 7-8 trucks to be equipped with automatic emergency braking, and directs the Department of Transportation to carry out research on equipping medium-duty Class 3-6 trucks with the same technology. The bill requires DOT to issue stronger standards on rear underride guards, which are the steel bars that hang from the backs of large trucks to prevent a passenger vehicle from moving underneath, greatly increasing the risk of a fatality in the event of a rear crash. The Infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act invests more funding into tackling our truck safety crisis. It increases funds made available to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration by 34%, expanding its ability to oversee the motor carrier industry. It also greatly expands discretionary grant funding made available to state and local commercial vehicle safety enforcement professionals. The law increases formula funding for the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program by approximately 61%, and increases discretionary grant funding by about 19%. Finally, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act establishes a new safety enforcement training program totaling $25 million. Our work does not end here. As I run for chair or ranking member of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee in the 119th Congress, I will continue to partner with the Truck Safety Coalition and all of you to place roadway safety at the center of our transportation policy. Thank you again to the Truck Safety Coalition for preparing this important report. Now I'd like to introduce the board chair of the Citizens for Reliable, Safe and Safe Highways and former administrator of NHTSA, Joan Claypool.
Thank you, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton. She is a safety advocate through and through. We're so pleased to be working with her all this time, and we look forward to working with her in the next Congress to get some new legislation passed that's going to make a huge difference in terms of truck safety. Excuse me. Today, we're releasing a report that shows that there's been a huge increase in deaths from trucks in terms of truck fatalities. There's a 13% increase in fatalities over last year. There's a 66%, believe it or not, a 66% increase in fatalities since 2009. And over 146,000 people are routinely injured in truck crashes each year. And the estimated cost to the taxpayer for this increase since 2009 is $180 billion. So we talk big numbers in our U.S. Treasury. This is huge, and it could be saved. Much of it could be saved if we did not have this increase. It used to be that there were about 5,000 deaths a year. There are now 5,600 deaths each year. And the other interesting note that I would make is that the worst truck crash states for fatalities in 2020, which is the latest year for which we have data, per 100,000 population are Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, Arkansas, Montana, Alabama, Idaho, Mississippi, North Dakota, Kentucky, Tennessee, and South Carolina. And that's because they all have very large rural areas, rural population, where these truck crashes occur, and it's inconceivable but true that many of the senators and representatives from these states vote against truck safety rather than for it, when they have the worst payoff of all. Truck fatalities are so devastating, and after I finish, we're going to have 4 people who you see behind me, 4 of the representatives who endured the tragedy of truck crashes, come up and make brief statements. The fatality crisis in trucks is an unattended and long ignored health crisis. It's really a health issue. It's way past time for the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, and members of Congress to have remedial action. And the solutions are not a mystery. The solutions are at hand. The Department of Transportation has the full authority right now to require proven low-cost technology like automatic emergency braking and advanced driver assistance systems for all commercial motor vehicles that over time will save thousands of lives and injuries. It's so terrible to talk with people who have been involved in these crashes and see the impact that it has on their lives and their families. These systems slow down or stop a vehicle about to have a crash, because the damage imposed on passenger vehicles in car and truck crashes is often fatal, or it causes severe injuries for the occupants of the cars. Preventing the truck from smashing into the passenger vehicle is a first line of defense, which this emergency braking guards can prevent smaller passenger vehicles from traveling underneath a large truck and decapitating, as with Jane Mansfield, or seriously brain damaging or killing the car occupants. A recent U.S. NHTSA DOT rule allows an old and very insufficient technology to be used to meet the new rear underride standard, to the great disappointment of the crash survivors here today. It should be updated immediately, and many companies are already installing the newer technology that has been fully tested by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety and is highly rated. The DOT ignored this life-saving research, testing, and analysis and issued an antique standard rather than a modern standard. Also, DOT's foolish and lethal teen trucking pilot program should be terminated immediately. DOT should not take any steps to encourage teens to drive large rigs. In looking at the numbers nationwide for truck crash victims, it is striking that the highest crash fatality rates per population are occurring in rural states. Other than Senator Wicker from Mississippi, senators from these 12 states are often the sponsors of rollbacks in truck safety, even though their population is hit so hard. And these rollbacks will not reduce death and injuries, but harm more. The senators from Montana and Nebraska, for example, have championed a pilot program allowing teens to drive trucks across the country. What are they thinking when they know that teen drivers have a far higher rate of crashes than older drivers? They should listen to the truck crash victims, not their friends in the trucking industry who just want more drivers so they don't have to pay as much for the ones they have. Conversely, Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi continues to fiercely oppose industry pressure to allow bigger and heavier trucks like twin 33s, that's two tracked trailers that are each 33 feet long as opposed to 27, so they're quite an increase on our highways because they would simply amplify and exacerbate the large truck highway safety crisis. These truck crash deaths and injuries are not a political issue. They are a public health issue, and they can be remedied with sensible safeguards issued by the Department of Transportation. We are here today to urge Secretary Pete Buttigieg to act swiftly and members of Congress to stop degrading safety with special interest attacks on DOT rules and to mandate new safety rules, standards that would protect the public from this cruel and bloody disaster. Thank you very much. We'll now have four of the victims come up and make brief statements.
We'll have five if we include Oliver. 1 month ago, my wife, Sarah Langenkamp, was killed by a truck turning right into its own parking lot. Sarah was a patriot. She was a Foreign Service officer with the State Department for 17 years, serving in hot spots around the world. Most recently in Ukraine, where she supplied the border guard and the police with vital equipment to fight Russia. The truck that killed her didn't have side underride guards. It had no emergency braking system. It had no sensors or cameras on the side that could have alerted the driver to Sarah's presence. I find it incredible. I find it morally irresponsible. I find it repugnant that we can't implement simple measures that are readily available and inexpensive on trucks to keep us from having deaths like Sarah's. And so I would have an ask today of those members of Congress, the senators and congressmen, the industry executives and lobbyists who oppose these changes. And that ask would be, look my sons in the eye and tell them why you can't implement these changes. I think we actually know the answer. I think the answer is that they prize profits over people, they prize profits over patriots like Sarah, and they prize profits over parents. That to me is fundamentally un-American. And now Oliver would like to say something. Just speak up loud. Just speak up. Speak loud.
So,
maybe stand to the side and talk loud these things.
So my name is Oliver. I am Sarah's.
Okay, so stand over here.
Step on the stand, buddy.
There you go, buddy.
As loud as you can.
So my name is Oliver. I am Sarah's son, and my mom died about a month ago. And I just can't imagine why that people, my mom, could be in Ukraine right now having bombs falling on the city than on the streets of America. Like, isn't America like the best? Everybody says it's the best country, it's the coolest, but it's like why can't they just do this? It makes it so much better. It's cheap. It's $3,000. Like, why can't we just make it so then I can have a mom and we can't bring back my mom, but maybe we can have others' parents not have to go and go through the same thing as I do. And the people who don't want to have this rule is maybe what he said, because they prize profits over their money. It's like, think, if your mom died on a car crash, you would have been begging that there would be another law to change it, just like I am right now. So that's it.
Hi, I am Elisa Costa. I'm 37 years old. On July 9th, 2020, my children were driving with their father to their aunt's house. They were approaching a construction zone and merged into one lane. Behind them was a semi-truck driver. He was high on meth and fentanyl. He was so high that he was falling asleep at the wheel. He hit my kids going 72 miles an hour. He pushed them in the back of a two-carrier truck. My daughter hit the left rear of the truck. And then they fell off into the berm, hit the wires, and the car burst into flames. Their dad was able to get out because there was a traveling fireman crossing the other way, but my children, they didn't make it. They were stuck in the car, and they had to stay in there the whole time until they could get it out. It was diesel, it was fuel. So with these automatic emergency braking systems, my children could be here today. It's so simple. It's not a hard thing. And I know all of you, maybe not all of you are parents, but I'm the only one wearing all of these buttons. So, please, whoever who can listen and make a change, can we please make a change? Because now, I'm a mother with no children.
My name is Gage Evans. My husband Bill Bailey was killed by a violent truck crash in 2019. The truck should never have been on the road. It is incomprehensible to me that motor carriers only have to file paperwork and show proof of insurance to put a rig on the road. For over 20 years, the FMCSA has failed to require new motor carriers to prove that they are knowledgeable about safety standards as required by the Motor Carrier Safety Improvement Act. For over 40 years, FMCSA has failed to increase the minimum liability insurance required for motor carriers. The crash that stole retirement with my husband happened because of a brand new, minimally insured carrier that was completely ignorant regarding safety standards and was allowed to operate in the first place. How many years will it take for Congress to hold the FMCSA responsible to fulfill the lowest threshold to its safety mission? How long will it take?
Hello, my name is Pamela Biddle. In May 2017 in Indiana, the lives of my firstborn son Aaron, his father Brian, and his father's companion Stephanie Swain were taken in an instant when their car was forced to stop on Interstate 70 because a large truck with a maintenance issue had caught fire and was blocking their lane of travel. Another distracted truck driver failed to slow and slammed into them at 75 miles per hour, 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. The impact shoved them into a flatbed trailer in front of them, resulting in a deadly and horrific underride crash. Their car burst into flames. It is unacceptable that despite readily available technology, the Department of Transportation has failed to require automatic emergency braking on all classes of commercial vehicles. Speed limiters, which have been installed in CMV since the 1990s, are not required to be in use. We cannot wait on the trucking industry to voluntarily install stronger rear and side underride guards to mitigate injuries in these catastrophic crashes. Further regulatory inaction is an outrageous expectation, as each day that passes puts more innocent lives at risk. More than 5,600 people needlessly died in large truck crashes last year, a 13% increase over the prior year. Traveling on U.S. highways should not require an act of faith to survive. We can, and therefore we must, do better.
That concludes our victim statements, and I'll just share a brief closing statement. My name is Zach Ahalen, and I'm the Executive Director of the Truck Safety Coalition. Safety is nowhere near the top priority of our transportation system. Large motor carriers turn over 90% of their drivers every year. Instead of providing better work conditions and pay to retain their drivers, industry asked Congress to let teens drive trucks instead. Congress did. Industry demanded the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration let new drivers obtain a license with 0 hours of behind-the-wheel training in a rig. They did. Industry demanded rollbacks to robust hours of service rules that protect drivers and all roadway users from the well-documented dangers of driver fatigue that we've heard here today. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration did. Safety will not happen by itself. Rollbacks result in wrecks. It's that simple. Safety must be the bar by which success is measured, as promised by the Department of Transportation's National Roadway Safety Strategy. Unfortunately, the reality is that 5,600 truck crash deaths occurred last year. The trucking lobby relentlessly refuses to take ownership for safety, and the victims you see before you today pay the price, because someone always has to pay. The cost of industry safety avoidance also falls on taxpayers, who pay an estimated over $180 billion in societal costs from large truck crashes every year. The Truck Safety Coalition victim volunteers are the strongest, most courageous people I have ever met. They bear witness to shine a spotlight on the deplorable state of truck safety in this country, as you heard from Daniel's son. And more importantly, they have offered several proven solutions that can reverse this deadly trend, requiring automatic emergency braking, advanced driver assistance systems on all large trucks, requiring rear, side, and front underride guards, increasing the minimum liability insurance for all commercial motor vehicle carriers, which hasn't budged for over 40 years. And that has unleashed hordes of unsafe motor carriers on our roads. It does not have to be this way. If enough Department of Transportation, industry leaders, and elected officials display a fraction of the courage that our volunteers have demonstrated here today, we can implement these solutions, and we will succeed in driving down truck crash deaths and injuries. Thank you.
the Congresswoman and I would be happy to take any questions that you might have. Would you identify who you are?
Rashad Hudson with Nexstar Media Group. What has been the response from the Department of Transportation when you tell them your suggestions and your requests?
What Secretary Buttigieg says is that they're working on it, and particularly on the automatic emergency braking. But the fact is that there's another factor involved here, and that is the topic of information and regulatory analysis in the White House, who constantly oppose on a cost-benefit basis all of these rules. And so it takes years sometimes to get them through. So I say to Secretary Buttigieg, if you really care about safety, which he says he does, let's get some action. We are tired of words. We just want action. And we say that to the Congress as well.
You said it all.
Mitchell Miller with WTOP. Question maybe for the Congresswoman
Okay.
as well as yourself. What kind of support do you have from other lawmakers, and is there bipartisan support for this legislation?
We have support in the House. I think the Senate is our big problem.
And we're going to have to do something about this in this election. But anyway, that's another issue. Any other questions?
You alluded to, I believe it was Senator Wicker, in trying to get bigger, heavier rigs on the road.
Longer trailers, yes.
Okay, yeah. So I'm curious about, as we sort of look to the future in electric trucks, electric vehicles, what kind of challenges does that present? Because I know that some of these electric vehicles can be even heavier than the internal combustion engines.
Well, okay, so what Senator Wicker has championed is not allowing longer trailers, increasing from 27 feet to 33 feet each one, which is 10 feet, 11 feet, and 12 feet. Anyway, a lot of feet. And he has been very adamant about it, and he's the ranking member on the Senate Commerce Committee, so he has a position of power. So he's been very, very helpful to us in that regard. Other senators, particularly ones from the rural states, which have this tremendous death and injury, have all been interested in helping the trucking industry. So that's been very difficult for us. So on the other hand, Secretary Buttigieg has the authority already to issue all sorts of rules. There's broad authority to issue rules, as does the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, for the original design of trucks and truck safety. And so we are looking to them to take an initiative and to be bold and caring about the impact that big trucks are having on the highway. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Our victims will be available if you have one-on-one questions as well for them.